Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Feast of Legends, Dungeons and Dragons, and who should be the design lead on Feast of Legends for 2nd edition. Alright, so Feast of Legends has been out for a while now. Alright, we all have fond memories of this game. We've all read through the entire book. We've all, either played in a campaign or run a campaign. We all have memories of running an Order of the Spicy Chicken Mage, or an Order of the Baconator Fighter, or an Order of the Baked Potato Rogue style character. We all have, good memories with friends having played this game. Some of us have memories of tears shed at the table when one character who was clearly warned about not getting too close, like putting some distance between his own behaviors and the behaviors of his Order of the Baked Potato character. I'm talking to you, Reginald, right? And when that character died, there were actual tears shed at the table, but only by Reginald. So we all have very fond memories with Feast of Legends, and Feast of Legends has proven to be. When Feast of Legends came out, I think everybody recognized that this was a pivotal moment in the history of tabletop role-playing games, right? Here we're seeing a tabletop role-playing game that is that includes all of the excitement of traditional Dungeons and Dragons, right? You have adventure, you have being able to, you as a player, invest yourself in a player character, right? To explore the deep intricacies of making a strong spicy chicken sandwich character build, right? Everything that Dungeons and Dragons offers is right there in Feast of Legends, right? And the reality is, we also know now, but Feast of Legends also introduces major new elements to tabletop role-playing games, and the first of which is brand, and the second of which is product, right? So this is the first true brand tabletop role-playing game, okay? This is the first time where a multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporation created a tabletop role-playing game with the sole purpose of allowing players and game masters to have a lot of fun while exploring their product and their brand, right? So Feast of Legends is a first. It is a first in the tabletop role-playing game industry, and honestly, its impact on the industry is so strong, right, that it also really brings up a lot of questions for Dungeons and Dragons, right? So one of the issues is for Dungeons and Dragons with 6th edition. I've been talking about this for 2 or 3 years. Should product placement be in Dungeons and Dragons 6th edition, right? Well, with the success of Feast of Legends and with the money it's been pushing forward for Wendy's, that answer is clear. We should really be very, very carefully considering putting product placement within Dungeons and Dragons 6th edition, right? It's good for the players, it's good for dungeon masters, it's good for the industry, it's good for the D&D community, right? And I think Feast of Legends has answered this question, right? All right, all that's in place, all right, okay? But like I said, Feast of Legends 1E is getting a little long in the tooth. We've had it long enough to really fully explore it, to play all the campaigns we wanted to play, and really, we know Feast of Legends 1E, right? It's part of us now, right? Some of us have our Feast of Legends tattoos. We've had Feast of Legends 1E has been a guest at our house for long enough, and I think a lot of us are starting to say, okay, we love this game. This game was historically epic, right? It was important in the history of tabletop role-playing games. What about 2nd edition? Let's talk about 2nd edition. All right, now first and foremost, there's things that should absolutely change in 2nd edition. One of the issues is we have the beef order classes, right? We have the beef orders, we have the chicken orders, we have the side orders, right? But I think it's pretty clear at this point that we clearly need salad orders, like 4 or 5 distinct orders coming from the salad area, right? And I would like to see those with current Wendy's salads and old salads that Wendy's doesn't even make anymore, right? I think they made a Cobb salad for a while that I think would be very powerful order, right? That really could bring a lot of fun and excitement to the table, right? All right. Now, there's clearly things that need to change in second edition, but the other thing is, are we going to embrace narrative dice in second edition, right? Should Feast of Legends have its own dice? Really important question, right? And at this point, narrative dice aren't even unique to the tabletop role, aren't even unique to Star Wars. We now have Star Wars narrative dice. We have Genesis narrative dice, and we also have Legends of the Five Rings narrative dice. It's definitely a growing issue, and I really, for one, I definitely think I would love to see Feast of Legends use narrative dice. I think it would be really cool if it switched over to narrative dice. All right, so all that's there. We need these very distinct changes, right? However, the design lead for second edition Feast of Legends cannot be a normal scrub tabletop role-playing game designer, right? Somebody's going to, do some kind of knockoff, something that looks like, that looks like something out of the 80s or the 90s. We need somebody really innovative. We need some... The demands for the design lead for Feast of Legends second edition are incredibly high. We need somebody who is very, very innovative. We need somebody who can lead a team. We need a real leader, somebody who has real leadership qualities, right? Somebody who's not only going to build Feast of Legends second edition into a greater version of an already great tabletop role-playing game, but somebody at the same time who's going to be building up whoever's going to replace them 5, 6, 7 years later, right? Who will be creating a new you even as they create the tabletop role-playing game. Somebody who's going to be kind and treat all those employees with respect, not do the kind of, sweatshop-like, rumors that you hear sometimes out of these video game shops, right? We need somebody who's going to be respectful to the employees, not push them too hard, be willing to embrace work-life balance, right? We need also someone who has an eye on diversity. You're going to need to hire an entire team, and the design lead is going to be central to hiring an entire team, right? We're going to need a team that isn't made up of the same people with the same attributes that you saw in the 80s, 90s, and even in the early 2000s, right? We need a design team that has real diversity across all the axes, right? There is a ton of demands, on the designer, the lead designer, the design lead for Feast of Legends second edition. All right, so I gave this some thought, and I'm gonna give you my number one pick, who I believe should be given the job by Wendy's of Feast of Legends second edition lead. Okay, so first I'm going to give you the people who came to mind immediately before I was like, I know exactly who's the perfect person, who actually executes on every single one of the of the needs that I just defined, right? So first, nobody on this list isn't anything but a tremendous tabletop role-playing game designer. However, the person who's number one, they perfectly fit this really unique special point in time need for Feast of Legends 2E. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so person who came to my mind is Lewis Porter Jr. He made Neo Exodus, and he did tremendous work in with Pathfinder third-party content creation. Really nice guy. I think he would do a fantastic job with this. I think he would really do a fantastic job with this. Okay. However, when I tell you who's number one of the reasons why is he lacks some of the experience that the number one person has. Okay. He's one of my favorite tabletop role-playing game designers. I think he's almost criminally underused by the industry. I think he'd be a great pick. But however, he's not number one. So let's go to next. Adam Cobell. I'm a huge fan of all his work. He does these breakdown videos where he'll do first looks. His first look videos are amazing. His work with Far Verona, his creation of the tabletop role-playing game Dungeon World with Sage Latora, fantastic. Adam Cobell, his Twitter presence, very, very strong. He's just really a winsome person, and I think he's really crushing it in the tabletop role-playing game scene, and I think he would do a really good job with Feast of Legends 2E. However, he's back in the pack, right? He's not number one. So let's keep going forward. David Black. David Black wrote The Black Hack, which is essentially it's a Dungeons and Dragons Redux, but it's beautiful. The game, and it inspired a ton of other work. One of my favorite games by Matt Click is Mecha Hack, and that game would not exist without the Black Hack by David Black. So I really think David Black should be considered, right? By the way, there's some people that arguably should be on this list, but just from the basis of time. If anybody's not on this list who I frequently talk about, it's just because of time, right? All right, last person who's in the secondary pack, right? Who's not the best person, not my actual choice for who I would like to see be the Feast of Legends 2nd Edition lead, is Brandish Gilhelm from Runehammer Games. Runehammer Games is just executing at a level that nobody else in the industry is executing. Bearcats was recently an amazing release. Their index card RPG is the very best tabletop role-playing game in existence beyond the borders of Dungeons & Dragons. Nothing's better. It runs everything smooth as silk. It's super fast. It's cinematic. Index card RPG is the tabletop role-playing game that half the tabletop role-playing game core rulebooks in the world claim to be, right? It actually isn't. It's fast-playing, it's simple and elegant, it's tremendous, right? I'm right now going to get, today I will be purchasing Relics of Odium. I'm super, every time, it's ridiculous now. Like when Runehammer Games drops a product, I buy it, period, end of sentence. They are amazing, right? Brandish Gilhelm would be a tremendous lead for Feast of Legends 2nd Edition. However, we're going to push all those people aside, and I'm going to tell you my true pick, who I think should truly be the lead for Feast of Legends 2nd Edition, and that is Shauna Germain. Shauna Germain is the author for. She was the lead, the design lead on Predation. Predation is a tabletop role-playing game that uses the Cypher system, and it involves time travel and dinosaurs, and it is beautiful. It's a fantastic, very exciting game that runs with the Cypher system. The Cypher system is created by Monty Cook Games. Monty Cook is a very, very classic tabletop role-playing game, really an epic tabletop role-playing game designer. I could laud him for 10 minutes, right? He was on Dungeons & Dragons 3E. He was on Dungeons & Dragons 5E very briefly. Someday there'll be an entire book written on that event. I'm very certain of that. And basically, so she works for Monty Cook Games, and she has worked for Monty Cook Games for, in my opinion, I'm almost positive this. I think Shauna Germain has been with Monty Cook Games from the very beginning. Monty Cook Games is doing a tremendous job just knocking out of the park with really super innovative, really unique products. They're very, very good at Kickstarter, and they're one of the few independent tabletop role-playing game companies that actually run a brick-and-mortar shop, right? That actually they have like an office where people go every day and sit down in a chair, and they can get a coffee break, and they build role-playing games. And they do so well that they're actually able to have an office. That's incredibly rare today, right? Most tabletop role-playing games that are being built today are a 1 or 2 person team, and it's being and those businesses are literally being run out of the living rooms and the garages of these people, right? Nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to give props where props are due, right? And Shauna Germain has been a huge part of building one of the very best, not tabletop role-playing games. She built one of the very best tabletop role-playing games within the last 5 years, right? Not just one of the most innovative products, the Black Cube with Invisible Sun. Shauna Germain's fingerprints are all over that, right? And not just one of the best tabletop role-playing game companies, right? But one of the best tabletop role-playing game offices, right? It's truly incredible. They have accomplished a ton. And here's the kicker, right? So Monty Cook is there, right? But Monty Cook is there, and he's doing his thing with Monty Cook Games, right? Now, frankly, it would be kind of hard for Monty Cook to leave Monty Cook Games, right? But it would not be hard. It would be actually very hard, but it would not be inappropriate in any way for Shauna Germain to leave Monty Cook Games. And here's why, right? Shauna Germain wrote Predation, right? She helped build one of the most innovative products, a luxury tabletop role-playing game, the Black Cube, Invisible Sun. She helped to set the template, how literally dozens of different companies would do Kickstarters and tabletop role-playing games, right? She has been there every step of the way for modern tabletop role-playing game design, right? If there is anybody who has seen product creation, company creation, who has seen at the very, very closest level creation of adventures, creation of games, creation of settings, and just seen the building blocks for how you take a product from good to great, it's Shauna Germain, right? And the reality is, right now, all right, hear me out on this one, right? Shauna Germain is just an individual contributor, right? She's just an individual contributor, right? And she's just an individual contributor at Monty Cook Games, right? But it's clear Shauna Germain has the experience and the skill that an entire tabletop role-playing game company should be centered around her, right? Now, right now, that could be challenging, right? And honestly, I really feel like the absolute best use of Shauna Germain's time would be for Wendy's to give her a very high dollar contract to create Feast of Legends 2E. Now, I would hope that when they did this, they would trust her, let her build a team of three other people, right? So it'd be a build team of 4. And I think they should give her 9 months to build this game, right? And also, I would not attach any playtest to it, right? I would just say, okay, Shauna, build it up, do it, bring it, release it, right? And I think that would be enough time. And I think all of us, we would be able to get by for the next 9 months with Feast of Legends 1E as we were anticipating Feast of Legends 2E, right? So without a doubt, and here's the issue, right? All the people I talked about, they're all very skilled. They've all done great work, but none of them have created their own gang, been there right on the ground floor, seeing true innovation happen in tabletop role-playing games, and that's exactly what the Black Cube is. Seeing an entire tabletop role-playing game company and knowing everything you would need to do to take a game from good to great, right? She just has more experience, and she's seen more. She's been there working side by side when people were doing bigger things than any of the other of those people that I talked about. And so I really feel like there is absolutely no better choice for design lead of Feast of Legends 2nd edition than Shauna Germain. I think it elevates her from being an individual contributor to being elite. She should really be elite, right? And I think maybe, Monty Cook Games put, kind of lead title on her at some point for different projects. But the reality is it's a super tiny company. And, is it, are you the actual lead, or is, the point is, in my opinion, Shauna Germain is bigger than an individual contributor. She really is a lead, right? And I think giving her Feast of Legends 2E, right, a product that needs to be handled very, very carefully, right? Because whatever happens with Feast of Legends 2E is going to impact Dungeons and Dragons directly. That's a fact, right? It's also going to impact the wider tabletop role-playing game industry as a whole, right? So you have this. Feast of Legends is a historically important, historically epic tabletop role-playing game. It needs to be put into the right hands, and in my opinion, Shauna Germain, there are no better hands for Feast of Legends 2nd edition than Shauna Germain. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Please let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.